Welcome to the Happy Mindset. Today's episode is episode number 77, and today's episode title is called Relaxed Focus. So today is the first episode of 2020. I'm hoping that you'll enjoy the episodes this year. Hoping that you'll have a great year as well. Hopefully you'll implement some stuff as well from this podcast. Hopefully you'll get some stuff that will be beneficial to you. So today I wanted to talk about relaxed focus because this has been something that I've been experiencing, I guess, in the last few years that's helped me to focus on the things that matter to me. So before I kind of had this idea that in order to focus on the things that mattered, it was something that I had to force. It was something that I had to block out other people's noise and other people's opinions, and I had to really focus and concentrate on what I wanted to happen. And to an extent, I guess, when I was starting out, there is a certain element of that because there is a lot of chatter in your own mind about what people think. There's a lot of kind of madness going on there. So it can help to have that focus, but it isn't sustainable over time to be that kind of switched on or that kind of obsessive about things. So I want to make a distinction between obsessively thinking about something and being focused on something. So I've had the contrast in my life, and I still will verge over into an obsessive nature, but not to the extent as before. The key thing that has changed is that I'm more aware of the illusion that I'm chasing more so than I was before. So whenever I find myself feeling obsessive or uptight, or that this has to be exactly like this, then what I tend to do nowadays is breathe into that, actually realize what's going on, take a moment to step back from that experience, because whatever is going on there, I mightn't know whatever is going on there, but when you can break that pattern, you can get back into just being in the moment, and that's where the creativity comes into it, and then you just create from more of a clear mind. What has helped me has been the realization that whatever I'm chasing isn't real. So what I would have been chasing in the past would have been, I need to get this perfect because this, and this, and this. There's always a story there. So nowadays I don't even really need to know what the exact story is. I just pay attention to the feeling. If I'm feeling obsessive about something, if I'm feeling very, very uptight about something, then more than likely I'm not seeing things clearly in that moment. I don't need to know what the story is. It's probably something related to past conditioning or past ways of seeing things. Just having that awareness thing can bring you back from it. Before, I wouldn't have been aware of that, and I would have just been unconscious to it. And it's not a great experience in the long term. And you don't actually become more productive, and you're not really that creative when you're coming from that state of mind. What I've realized is that from having a relaxed focus is more about defining what matters to you. You don't need to be very, very clear at the start. It can be pretty vague, but the main thing is that you're starting to intentionally shift your focus to what matters to you. What you realize over the long term is there's only a few key things that will actually matter to you. For me at the moment, it's the podcast, it's my book, and it's computer programming, and it's the relationships that I form around those types of interests. Running as well is another thing I do. I try and balance myself out a bit too. I don't want to always be engaged in writing and stuff that's not physical. I like to kind of get out and about in fresh air as much as I can as well. Again, I guess that's more of a balanced lifestyle. But so with the relaxed focus, what's helped me is that I'm no longer afraid of focusing on these few key things. Before, what would have gotten in my way would be other people's opinions, or if people can really get in your head if you're not really comfortable in yourself and comfortable with what you're doing, because you might meet 10 people who might say nothing, and you'll focus on that one person who says something a bit off kilter. But what's helped me as I move forward is that it's nearly always about that person, what's going on for them, what way they've interpreted what you said, whatever images are flashing through their head. It's rarely anything much to do with you, unless you're, provoking somebody or whatever. But if you're just doing your thing, and you're saying something that sounds normal to you, but it seems to trigger something in them, or they've got a certain perception of what you're doing, then more than likely it's about that person more so than you. So in those moments, those are difficult moments too. What I've realized helps in those moments is to breathe into that anxiety. For me, it's anxiety that kind of comes up in that situation, because I don't like, well, for me, I don't like somebody projecting their experience onto me and thinking that I'm a certain way. I don't like that. It just feels like I hate that. But now I've realized that that's my thing as well. That's my crap coming up there, that me wanting to control how other people perceive me. So just have to accept it. That's their experience, that's your experience. You can engage in a dialogue, but you can't convince somebody of something if they're not willing to hear something, and vice versa. So that's that. Yeah, I kind of went on a bit of a rabbit hole there, but the relaxed focus, though, what tends to happen in my life before was that whenever I associated like making things happen with obsessive thinking, generally in society it's not seen as a great thing for somebody to be passionate about things that other people don't understand. And there's a tendency to kind of label these people as obsessives, or they're a bit different, or a bit crazy, or that type of thing. But what I've realized is that if you don't have some sort of focus, if you don't prioritize things, if you don't know what actually is valuable to you, then how are you going to set up your life in a way that you actually enjoy it, that you're actually happy? Like you'll just have random relationships, you'll have random friendships. You'll be pretty much blending in with the group, whatever group that is you're around. You'll be blending into your environment for good or for bad. There's no way of getting around obsessive thinking. You'll obsess about things anyway, so you might break up with somebody, or different things will happen in life, and that's where the obsessive thinking will come in. So I'd rather have obsessive thinking in an area that I'm intentional about than in just random areas anyway. Because there's a certain element of growing through this anyway, I feel. Like I was definitely more obsessive in my thinking than I am today. Today I kind of drift in and out of it. But I'm more aware of it because I'm just paying more attention to the feeling. Before, when I was younger, I paid very little attention to my feelings. So I didn't place an importance on them. I didn't see how they were relevant, or that relevant. I always kind of saw them as trivial things. Whereas now I place more importance on emotion than I do on logic. And the reason I do that is because you can't think logically if you're not grounded in your emotions. If you think about it, when was the last time you were able to think logically in a stressful situation, or in a situation where you were angry, or in a situation where you were crying? Like, if you just take a minute and just think about what in those experiences, what's your thinking generally like? For me, it's like my thinking's erratic. I can't trust it in those moments. And the counterintuitive thing is that when you're in those emotions, you feel like that thinking is the best thinking possible, because that's the only thinking you have in those moments. So that's why I place more importance on emotional intelligence than I do on logic, because I see them as hand in hand. The more I've been able to emotionally ground myself, the more I've actually been able to think more logically, and the more I've been able to think better and more clearly. So that's basically focus. I wanted to get that across because that was something that held me back for a while, that I felt that in order to create things that are a little bit different, that I had to obsess about it, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be obsessive. The other fear I had was that in order to create things that matter to me, I would have to become more of who I am, and I'd have to be more honest with myself. And what would probably happen then is that my environment would change. The people I hang around with would change, and that would all change. In reality, that does change. You will find that there will be changes to that as well. But then the other side of that is that things will change anyway, regardless. Like, either you change or other people will change. You can't control other people, and there's other people who will change as well. Like, things happen in life, natural things, like people get older, they have a family, they find their interests and that type of thing. So even though it can be scary to begin with, they kind of taught that, like, if you become a different person, you might need to let go of certain relationships or move on and stuff. it's good to put that in perspective and realize that that's going to happen anyway. So you might as well let that happen, but you doing it in your way, like you changing as a person and let things change as they are meant to change. I can talk about that in another episode actually, because that was a big fear I had, and it was something again that was coming from me wanting to control it, me wanting it to be perceived in a certain way. I wasn't aware that that was the stuff that was going on, but I'm more conscious of it now, and what's helped me has been to realize that I can only have control on how I change as a person. I can be intentional about that. And then it's the kind of philosophy of let the chips fall where they may. Be respectful to people, be understanding towards people, and then just let things happen and unfold as they're supposed to happen. And it's just a lot clearer. There's a lot more clarity and peace of mind from doing that. I hope that's helpful. I hope that will help you to start or to continue following your path. If you're somebody who's been listening to this for a while now, I hope that this kind of stuff can help. It's been stuff that I've been learning through experience, and I know it would help me when I'm starting off to just have somebody to tell me this stuff. So I'll continue to share some stuff like this wherever I feel it'll be helpful. So yeah, so thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and until next time, have fun and enjoy the process.